The early media electronic instruments, like PAC-AB or Wobbulator video synthesizers, due to their specific features, have proven to be particularly upgradable for experimental artistic development. Analog video is an open, modular system consisting of different components. For example, there are various possibilities to transmit signals. The processual structure of video allows multiple connections of the devices as well as the exchange of audio and video signals. The first systems incorporating technical interaction were based almost exclusively on acoustic input. The transformation of audio into video changes the direction of signal motion. Namjoon Paik and other pioneer artists explored the variability of vertical-horizontal image motion and changed the synchronization of the signals like variations on a musical theme. Sound signals, which are produced through an audio synthesizer, can be translated into image signals and can therefore control the visual phenomena of video. The electronic information can at the same time be realized acoustically and visually. One can see what one hears, and vice versa. The image and sound are produced from the same source. They work together like musical instruments, and they can interact too. The analog video technology in the 1960s and 1970s generated movement, shapes, and light. So the real-time recording and manipulating of moving images became possible. It was new and exciting for the video artists of testing the variability of electronic waveforms in frequency modulation, in which the image content is dissolved into abstract graphic patterns and three-dimensional forms. The created electronic three-dimensional effect was a new form. A synthesizer either generates audio and video waveforms internally with oscillators or modulates existing signals. To transfer messages from one medium to another always involves reshaping them to conform to new standards and materials. The transposition necessarily takes the place of translation. Every transposition is a manipulation, deformation, and/or distortion. Sound and image experiments produce new aesthetics. It has own value and can be evaluated as an art form. The manipulation of video images through sound was important for such pioneer video artists like Namjoon Paik, Stina Vasulka, or Gary Hill. A few video artists, including Paik with PAC-AB, began building analog video synthesizers, which were basically video equivalents of audio synthesizers, allowing one signal to be used to control another signal in real time. A synthesizer can therefore be integrated into the variable structure of video because it processes the information coming from different modules, all of which have input and output connections. These early media instruments were often used to alter live cameras, but could also be used in self-contained setups to generate abstract visuals. Analog video synthesizers were used by artists in studio production and occasionally in live performance situations. In the early 1970s, analog audio-video instruments, as mentioned, were constructed by engineers in close exchange with video artists. The size and huge expense of analog video synthesizers prevented them from being widely adopted as tools, media instruments. Improvisation, which relies essentially on the spontaneous interaction of the visual artists and/or musicians, became common practice. The analog types of equipment and nowadays using digital software and VJing, and the hybrid techniques enable the artist to superimpose, contrast, blend, and otherwise transform images in real time, in improvised interaction that can be seen as comparable to free jazz. There are discourses in connection with the sound-image relationship that what are the terms of synchronization, asynchronism, or syncresis. Syncresis is not automatic. It is also a function meaning and is organized according to contextual determinations. A raster manipulation unit or Wobbulator is a prepared television which permits a wide variety of treatments to be performed on video images. This is accomplished by the addition of extra yolks to a conventional black and white receiver and by the application of signals derived from audio or function generators on the yolks. The unit is a receiver modified for monitor capability. All of the distortions can thus be performed either on broadcast signals or, when the unit is used as a monitor, on images from a live or pre-recorded source. Although the image manipulations cannot be recorded directly, they can be recorded by using an optical interface. These types of signals are most evident visually when used in conjunction with the horizontal or vertical collapse functions which reduce the raster to a horizontal or vertical line. These audio signals cause the line to distort in direct correspondence with changes in the audio signal. Often the frequencies present in this type of signal are such that the distortions produced by their actions on a complete image are not very noticeable. The unit is also capable of reversing the raster around the vertical or horizontal axis, producing images that are reversed left to right or top to bottom in orientation. The raster reversal in combination with audio treatments generates an almost endless series of patterns which are highly controllable. Hawking Brewster Wright, 1980. However, any audio signal source may be employed. These devices include mostly audio synthesizers. The normal small yoke on the receiver is an electromagnet, which generates a magnetic field that deflects the electron beam. The scanning process has both horizontal and vertical components. Because the yokes are electromagnets, they react to the audio amplifier in much the same manner that a sound speaker responds. The yokes are driven with the audio amplifier. Since ancient times, artists have longed to create with moving lights music for the eye comparable to the effects of sound for the ear. The origins of visual music can be found in the correspondences of the color spectrum and sound waves, music in color, and sound in light. There are differently formed visual structures that can be called visual music. It's exciting that so much new work and attention are expanding the field rapidly and elevating visual music to new levels of cultural and aesthetic significance. Any discussion of visual music must be interdisciplinary. What are the visual equivalents of melody, harmony, rhythm, and counterpoint? Does it important to find these equivalents? Are they exist at all? Both visual and music parts of visual music's work are deeply connected and integrate. Both types of image making, like electric, analog, and digital, have their different creative uses and strengths, but to lose analog video as an artistic medium would be a tragic loss. The analog video signal is one of the 20th century's most exciting innovations. A lot of analog works which have rich organic textures stood out visually, particularly in comparison to some of the slicker CG pieces. A digital image is frozen. An analog image is always in motion, redrawing itself with slight differences with each recursion. It is saturated with faults, artifacts that are the human face of the technique. Analog video has developed a specific electronic vocabulary and in the meantime is acknowledged as a reference medium for audiovisual experiments in digital media. Peck, Vasilkas, Hill, and other pioneer artists paved the way for later media artists. The hybridity at the interface between hearing and seeing, and also between analog and digital techniques, reaches wide circles and contexts. New possibilities emerge incessantly. The experimental real-time video processing software gives one access to custom professional video and new media software applications for producing real-time experimental media artworks. Light, sun, and electricity are mysteries. Everything wobbles and oscillates between two extremes, light and dark, day and night, and life and death. The relationships between sound and image in connection with visual music are much more than the simple translation of sound frequencies to color and shapes. It is also about expressivity, dynamics, and rhythm. There are approximately 4 million individual phosphor trace points on the face of a 21-inch analog television screen at any given moment. Youngblood. This is living, projecting light. The directed electromagnetic field controls the distribution of these light trace points in horizontal and vertical polar coordinates at hundreds of lines per second. Electronic image and electronic sound too has volatility and immateriality. It is another question of the aesthetic consequence of this. Electron drawing, PEG, became an impossibility. PEG's prepared television is equivalent in concept to the prepared piano. It is a level of variability that is the manipulation when different generators, oscillators, amplifiers produce random or semi-random effects. Lumage was created by combining the words of luminosity and image montage. It refers to the essence of the work, for light and special editing or montage. This is a fixed version of a sound-generated analog video improvisation complementing with little digital effects. We see what we hear. Pure visual music. Homage to Laszlo Moholy-Nagy. This video seeks precisely the connections between natural and technical light and electricity. In a sense, the technical images are generated as an audio-visual improvisation using a modular audio synthesizer and the Wobbulator enthrall with the flicker of light and the ephemerality of images. These works of art are built on the multi-directional movements, transformations, and interactions of different media, mostly motion images, and sound. One can highlight the fact that image yields sound, sound yields image, while the numeral value of the basic information is usually equal.